On behalf of myself and my colleague, Dr. Khalid Sulaiman, I would like to thank the ICRB and the General Organizing Committee and the Organizing Committee for this session to give us the opportunity to present some of interest literature review about the trends of radiation protection in PET-CT. This slide I want to show you how fast is growing the PET-CT imaging modalities and the demand imaging modalities. As you can see, in 2011, there were more than 5,000 PET-CT systems installed all around the world. In 2011 as well, it was estimated that 1.5 million clinical PET patient studies were performed in US, 44% of them on mobile PET. This is an indicator that some institutes still they don't have the access on a conventional type of on-site PET-CT facility. 95% of the PET patient studies use radiopharmaceuticals purchased from outside supplier and 5% from a cyclotron on-site. Again, this is just an indicator to show that still some sites, they don't have on-site cyclotron for this type of service. It is well known the advantages of the PET-CT, mainly for oncology applications, but still there is a growing use in the cardiology and neurology application. It's quite very accurate, semi-accurate, quantitative type of PET imaging modalities. This is a busy type of a slide. Maybe this is not strange for the people who's familiar with PET-CT, but I put all the things you might figure out where is the radiation sources in the PET-CT facilities. The journey started by preparation of the radiopharmaceuticals, then the dose injection, then the worker should measure the residual activity, then the patient will wait around 45 minutes to 1 hour in uptake room. Again, the patient here is the source of radiation. Then the workers will escorting the patient to the scanner. The scanner itself is two types of modalities. One, the CT, which we'll use mainly for anatomical and landmarks and attenuation correction. It has an X-ray tube. And the other part is the PET, where we use it for a emission type of a study, where we can see the function. Then the emission image and the transmission image will be registered to get the fused images. All these two imaging modalities located in a well-shielded room, and the worker outside the scanner will control everything beyond the control room. Then the patient, after complete the scan, maybe around 20 to 30 minutes, it depends on the scanner, then the patient still has some activity remaining in his or her body, then will be discharged after that. The difficult part on the PET-CT is the energy of the radiopharmaceutical is 511 keV. This requires more shielding, and the half-value layer is different, the energy is different, the specific gamma ray, again, is different when we compare it to the conventional technetium 99M. Patient exposed to radiation by two ways: externally from the CT scan during the CT, and internally during the administration of the activity, here mainly focus on the fluorine-18. And the staff working on the PET-CT, they will be exposed to radiation by handling radiopharmaceuticals during dose preparation, transport of syringe to injection room, injection of a patient, major residual activity, handling of radioactive waste, and the other way is the close contact with the patient after administration of fluorine-18, which is during the uptake stage, escorting the patient, and during scanning stage, during release stage. 59% of the operation-related doses are due to the direct handling of the fluorine-18, and 41% of this from the patient interaction. I think I will not go for the ICRB principles because it has been covered by my colleagues. One of the major things to reduce the dose is the administered activity. We should focus on reducing the administered activity because this will reduce the radiation dose to the patient. Lowering activity, this will result in a longer emission scanning time. This will induce motion and misregistration and reduce the patient throughput. Administered activity depends on many factors: the detector material, count rate, behavior of the scanner, acquisition mode, whether it's 2D, 3D, or time of flight, and the patient weight. The recommended administered activity should be arranged between 2.5 to 5 MBQ per kilogram. This is just a curve showing different type of recommendation for the administered activity. The European, the 3D type of scanner, I would recommend if you use the European, you can administer low activity and getting a good image quality as well. Again, this is some literature review about administered activity. Average administered activity was reduced by around 34%. And again, the whole body dose of a PET-CT procedure was reduced from 2.6 to 1.6 microsievert. Average specific activity was reduced by 20% when we use time of flight type of scanner. Administered activity can be reduced again by 30% with time flight technology by another study. This is an interesting study. This is a Korean study. I did not have access to read Korean language, but this is just the abstract. And really, I find it's an interesting article to present here. This is the abstract and some of the views. They injected around 407 MBQ of DG. The radiation dose meter was placed at 5 different heights, 8 different angles. This is the height. These are the angles around the patient. This is the patient. And the dose rate was plus minus 20 microsievert, especially 60 minutes post-FDG injection. And as you can see from these red circles, this is the highest dose rate location around the patient, especially in the front of the patient. And the minimum, you can see the majority at the minus 90 degree around the patient. And 45 and minus 45 degree around the patient. This is just to give an indication to the worker where he or she should position or take a position around the patient. This is very critical and very important. This is give you an idea where is the dose rate around the injected patient. Then you can figure out where is the worker position around the patient. From previous slides, it is recommended to use the right arm for injection instead of the left arm. It is recommended to have the patient lay out the head toward the door because this is get good access to the right hand instead of the left hand. If it's possible, not all the patient, just the recommended. Again, if the worker wants to talk to the patient, it is recommended go to the other side, to the right side of the patient instead of going to the left side. It's recommended to use this type of lead shield where can eliminate the degree of the shield of the dose toward the left side of the patient, going straight forward as the front of the patient. It is recommended to have this type of ceiling type of lead shield installed in the ceiling. This will provide the workers with good shielding. Again, it is recommended to have a mobile type of lead glass shielding as well. Extremity dose monitoring, I find it's quite interesting to look through it. Some workers, it's difficult to wear the rings on some location, but most of them, they wear it on the ring finger, some of them in the wrist, but if it is in the wrist, it is far away from the fingertip. If it is in the middle, again, it's far away from the tip. Some location is inconvenient for the worker, but still does not represent the highest dose in the finger tip. This is another study done in Belgium where they placed TLDs on a cotton type of gloves at certain type of location. Then the worker will wear another plastic gloves. Then they measure the dose on the extremities, on the fingers. And this is the recommended location where they wear the ring TLD. And you will be surprised, they find the dose high at these locations on the left hand. Most of the people involved in this study, they were right-handed people, while the highest dose was on the left hand. Why? Because most of the workers, they will place the syringe, the needle on their left hand, where they can support get rid of the air bubbles or can look through the volume on the syringes. That's why this area received more dose rate. And you can see the position, and especially when the administering of, FDG, again, the L03 received more dose on the left hand compared to the right hand. This gives us an indication that dose to routine location, R08, can be multiplied by a factor. In this study, they figure out around 9, where this dose can be exceeded. The recommended dose can be exceeded if they practice like this. This is another slide showing some sites. They use automated type of injector and dispensing machine. These maybe 3 or 4 common type of injector or dispensing machine. They are effective in reducing the dose for the workers. As you can see, use automated infusion system reduce 10-fold in the staff extremities, body and dose. Collective finger dose reduced by around 39%. Whole body exposure for PET-CT procedure reduced by 20% by using this type of automated dispensing and injection machine. Whole body dose for a technologist are reduced by 50%, and the use of BodyJet system reduced more than 95% of the extremity dose. Again, this is another study looking through the amount of residual activity, which was around 5 plus minus 0.6 MBQ. And again, you can see this is only during dispensing, and this is the highest dose when they are not using the automated dispensing machine, and this is when they use the automated dispensing machine. It's quite massive. The next 5 minutes, I'll try to go through the CT scan. CT studies conducted in their own right without PET now account around 5 to 25% of all studies in large medical centers in developed world, contribute around half or 2/3 of the effective dose received by patients from diagnostic radiology. And it has been covered by most of my colleagues either this morning or the last 2 days. It's very important to justify for the exam, especially for the CT. I couldn't find any literature review where they justify the CT for the PET. But I find this is an interesting article where they looked through the CT requested for 1 day. And they have found that 20% of the CT examination were not justified. So simple, in 1 day. This is just to give you an indication the importance of the justification for the CT procedure. Yes, most of the clinician or the radiologist, they requested the CT for attenuation correction or the low dose type of CT. But again, if they can justify some of these type of procedures, it will reduce the dose. Examination should be justified based on a clinical referral criteria, and I think this will be covered by one of our colleagues here. Concerned medical bodies organization at international level have to describe proper referral criteria. Medical doctors prescribing the exam must be aware of the referral criteria. Effort must be developed to apply the recommended referral criteria with a close cooperation between clinician, radiologist, and medical physicist. Annual audits of PET-CT exam justification is recommended. This is just to give you an example of comparing low-dose CT with high-dose CT. The low-dose CT can give, only mainly used for attenuation correction, can give around 2 to 4 millisievert, while the full diagnostic can give around 2 to 20 millisievert. Using low-dose CT for attenuation correction only can reduce the dose by a factor from 2 to 3. I think the workers should be familiar with all parameters control the CT dose. I mean the software, the hardware, where they change the parameters, when they change the parameters. This is include slice thickness, tube current, and KVB, everything. This is just to give you an indication of when we change the KV from 140 to 120, and keeping roughly the MA as it is, the CT can be reduced quite massive when you just manage the parameters of the CT. A dummy simulation 10 years old performed by Dr. Fahy with a fixed current and reduce the KV from 120 to 80 KV can reduce the measured dose by 67%. CT dose reduction techniques, again, the image reconstruction algorithm is recommended because iterative reconstruction algorithm can reduce the dose by around 50%. Some adaptive statistical iterative reconstruction algorithm can reduce it by around 42 to 65. Again, there is another type of reconstruction algorithm. It's type of 3D on the raw data, and reconstructed data can reduce the dose by around 75%. The automatic exposure control is recommended. I will not go through this just to save time. The conclusion, shared information radiation protection for education purpose. A good example why we are gathering today here for sharing information with international speakers, with all the people from around the world. And this is the main purpose of the ICRB, and I think this is a good opportunity to share information between the expertise. Training, rotate scheme within workers, divide responsibilities, FDG preparation for a skillful worker. Vendors, they should do something for their equipment. Use automated dispensing or infusion system. Reduce the administered activity. More communication between referring physician and the nuclear medicine physician to reduce justified procedures. Harmonizing, as one of our people here, or one of our colleagues, when he mentioned harmonization. Competency-based, expected help from ICRB. Optimization of the individual workload is often used to restrict the staff doses. Maximization of a distance and minimization of close contact when escorting and positioning the patient. And thank you so much.